Welcome to another edition of Journey of Hope. Stories of people that have been impacted by the healing ministry of Loma Linda University Medical Center. People that have gone on to be not only survivors, but thrivers. People often say that lightning never strikes the same place twice. However, it does happen in some people's experiences where they get the words, "You have cancer," and it comes back on one occasion, or on two occasions, or on three occasions. Our couple today have an interesting journey that they've been on. We've got an Irish Catholic and an Irish Protestant that united their lives together. They have 5 children and 16 and 7/8 grandchildren. And they've got a great story to share. An interesting journey they've been on. Jean and Doe, it's good to have you here, all the way from Colorado. And we want to let our listening audience know a little bit about you. And Jean, we'll start with you. Where are you from? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, Pagosa Springs, Colorado.
Currently?
Currently, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio in 1929. And I was raised there and went into service when I was 18 as an enlisted man, and I got out in a year and got into ROTC and got a commission, and then I did some time in the Air Force, and then I ended up back in Cleveland as a stockbroker.
This is after you got out of the service? So how long were you in the service?
4 years total, two tours, one as an enlisted man, one as an officer.
Okay. How do you get a 2-year tour?
Well, I got, in 1948, they passed what they call the Selective Service Act of 1948. If you were 18, you could go on active duty for 1 year and sign an obligation to go in the reserves for 6 years or extend or be accepted in ROTC. Well, after 13 weeks of basic training, I decided I did not want to be an enlisted man. And I was put in base operations as a dispatcher, and I saw all these second lieutenants with their wings coming through, and I had to clear their flight plans. And so I decided I was going to get out of that thing and go to college and get one of those gold bars too.
So 2 years and you were out.
Yeah, I went through college in 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And
well,
then I was recalled for Korea, but I was an officer.
So, but you were born and raised in the Cleveland area?
That's right.
Okay. And Irish Catholic?
Yes,
all
the way, second
Doe,
generation.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
I was born actually in Indiana, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Which is south of where I grew up. I grew up in St. Mary's, Pennsylvania, which was 99.9% German Catholic, and I was a Protestant.
And you were Protestant?
Yes.
Okay. And how long were you there in Pennsylvania, and how did you end up in Cleveland?
Well, I decided that I wanted to travel after I graduated from high school. I was too young to get a job in the factories, and that's all there was in St. Mary's were carbon factories. And so I went to Albany, New York, and got a job in a bank, and my grandfather got sick, and he wanted me to come home, so I came back home.
To Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Okay.
And when he passed away, I decided I'd go to Hollywood and become a movie star. Well, that didn't work.
So did you come to Hollywood for a while?
I went to Hollywood, yes. I worked for Holmes and Narver, and I lived in a YWCA, and decided since I wasn't going to be a movie star, I went with my girlfriend to Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
And I worked for a radiologist in Spokane, Washington. And then my girlfriend got sick, so we went back to her hometown, which was Cleveland. And I got a job as a secretary in a brokerage firm, and I was Jean's stockbroker's secretary.
Oh, so that's how it all... So you went into the service, because I know there's a very important point, and I don't know how much detail we'll be able to go into it, but you went into service, You came out, went to school, then
Got my
went back in the
master's.
service.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and how long were you in the service the second time around?
3 years.
For 3 years. Then, when you got out, what did you do?
I got my master's at Baylor University.
You got your master's at Baylor, and you got, was that
In business.
an MBA?
Yes.
Okay. And then after that, where did you go?
I went back to Cleveland, met her, and became a stockbroker.
Okay. So did you become a stockbroker and then meet her?
No, I met her before I was a stockbroker.
Okay.
The guy who introduced me to her also introduced me to the people who hired me as a stockbroker. It's a different
So
firm.
he introduced you to being a stockbroker as well as to your new
Right.
future wife.
Right.
Okay. So, how long were you in Cleveland area then?
Well, we stayed in Cleveland until the mid-'70s.
As a
And
stockbroker?
Yeah, I'm working for various firms because they kept changing names, you know, the way brokers do.
Yes.
And finally, when Drexel Firestone became Drexel Burnham and they closed the office, I said, that's it. So I packed up my wife, 5 kids, sailboat, and sold the house and went out west without a job.
Todd, ready to start a new life.
That's right.
Okay.
And I went out there and I called some people I knew in New York and I said, I'm available. And nothing happened. I got a job with a local broker who had a New York Stock Exchange member. And they have to do that to keep your license current.
Uh-huh.
And I studied some advanced studies on investment analysis and stuff like that. All of a sudden I got a call from New York. It says, we want you.
Just like
And
that.
They gave me the job of calling on all the trust departments west of the Mississippi River,
I
trying to
see.
sell a new product that nobody else wanted the job for.
So you had a large area that
Yes,
you were
yeah,
traveling.
the western
through.
United States.
Yeah.
They had 3 customers out there when I had got the job. And I said, I'll take it. If I can get an airplane, you'll pay for everything. But they said, we'll pay for everything, but you got to pay for the airplane. So then I just started flying around all these trust departments in my airplane.
So in the Air Force, you were trained in, what was the?
I was a pilot.
You were a
Single-engine
pilot.
Mhm.
Okay.
Single engine.
And I want to kind of fast forward to a time,
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
you were down in Florida. And you were flying what somebody described as some kind of a flying contraption.
Yes.
Yeah, and this was about 8 years ago, 7 years
Yes.
ago? Okay. And actually, you were out with another guy in this, what you
Yes.
call a flying contraption.
My ex-son-in-law,
Over
who's
the
a complete
water
idiot.
with your son-in-law. Okay. And because the reason it's important is this is the same time that Doe discovered that you had what?
Colon cancer.
You had colon cancer.
Yes.
So while you have colon cancer, and if I remember correctly, this was the same day that you had your port put in to be treated. He's out flying around, and we won't be able to go too much into the detail, but it apparently crashed over the water.
That's right.
Over the
Flipped.
water.
He landed. He didn't know how to land in the wind. The
It
thing
was-
flipped.
It was a little
and it
Zodiac.
flipped, and so you're out how far from shore?
3 miles.
3 miles from shore.
February.
And it's in February. And eventually somebody came and they rescued
The
you?
propeller hit me, and I had cut an artery, and I was bleeding, and we kept waving my undershirt I got out, and some
You took-
guy on
you
shore.
Put it on the oar or something?
Yes, somebody on shore saw it, and the Coast Guard cutter came roaring up there and fished me out.
But I mean, they send you home?
No, they took me right to the hospital because I was government property once I got on the Coast Guard, and I was bleeding.
And so did they take you by ambulance?
Well, they were going to, but a couple of pilots showed up with a flight by life helicopter that they were just checking out. It was a brand new hospital, and they talked me into going with them. So they flight for life me to the hospital, and then they discharged me.
I mean, you went
After I
in, they
got
patched you up,
stitches,
and
yeah.
you were okay.
They-
Now, it was at this same time that you had a port. So now tell us, when you found out you had colon cancer, what kind of an impact did this make?
Well, I had the colon cancer at the end of December. It was never had a clue, never a clue. And Jean insisted that I have a colonoscopy. And I said, I don't want to. I don't like doctors. I don't like medicine. Why bother?
Sure.
So
But he insisted.
he insisted. So I went in and I came out and he said, you have cancer. And I said, that's not funny. And he
You
said,
thought he was joking?
yeah. And he says, no, you do. And I said, I could think of a better joke than that. And the nurse says, no, you do. And she says, not only do you have colon cancer, but it's very bad.
So in other words, it was progressed.
It was
Stage
pretty,
So they
three
go in
plus.
just for a normal colonoscopy, and they share with you that it looks bad. You've got cancer.
it
In
had,
fact, it looks like it's an aggressive kind of cancer.
it had metastasized into 17 of the lymph nodes outside
Wow.
the colon.
Okay.
So it was
So you
around
can't
Christmas.
just put a little bandage on that.
No, when it was Christmas, and we
Christmas time.
and we couldn't get in anywhere because it's the holidays. So Gene had his friend at Baylor, and that was on Monday. He said, how soon can you get here? Gene says, I can be there Monday. And he says, okay, we'll operate on Tuesday.
So you find out when, on a Friday?
Found out on a,
Wednesday, middle of the week or
No,
something?
Friday.
It was a Friday, and
Friday.
you're going to get her down there. You call and have a contact, and he said, can you be here by Monday? So you get her down there, and then what?
It was stage 3 plus.
It was stage 3 plus.
and they removed 18 inches of the colon.
Only 18 inches.
Only 18.
Okay.
Well,
For you, it's only
I mean,
18
it's
inches.
only-
Me, 18 feet, 18 inches. Okay.
well, I'm not one of these people who takes sickness very serious. I really am. Well, it's in your hands now. You take over. You do it. I'm out of here.
So you're going to have surgery. I mean, are they talking about any kind of a follow-up? I mean, you're just going to have the surgery and kind of sew you back up, and then you'll be on your way, and he can go flying again. And
No, I had 6 months of chemo.
oh, you had 6 months of chemo.
Yeah, I had 3 months in Florida and then 3 months in Durango.
Okay. Well, how was this? For
Well, the
for
first
somebody that's so optimistic and bubbly, and I mean, you had 6 months of chemo.
well, the first treatment I went into, there were 13 people sitting in the room, and they were all sitting like this.
Very serious, sick
And I
patients.
said, I can't handle this. And I told Gene, I said, I'm not going back. I says, I don't need that. And he said, well, you have to have the chemo. And I says, well, all right. So I went back in. I said, okay, listen up, everybody.
So you're going in to tell the other patients to loosen up.
Yeah.
And you're just getting started, but you don't like what you see.
No.
So you say, hey, listen, loosen up.
Listen up. We had a party every Wednesday. And when I left, they gave me 2 bottles of non-alcoholic champagne.
Is that a
Yeah.
fact? So you became the life of the party,
And we had fun.
and you had a party.
Yes, we had a party.
So, and 3 months there, and then 3 months in
Durango.
in Durango.
And it was the same thing in Durango. I walked in and I said, no way, come on. You know.
Liven up, huh? Loosen up.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
Now repeat that again. It's not the
It's
end
not
of the
the
world.
end of the
I mean,
world.
you're diagnosed with a very serious cancer here, and it's a very aggressive. And so you're going through chemo. Did you get pretty sick from the chemo?
No,
You
it
didn't.
was a walk in the park.
A walk in the park. Well, there's different kinds of parks. I can see that right now. It's a walk in the park. So you went through 6 months of chemo. Now, are you following up? Do you have to go back every 3 months?
Well,
or-
it's been 7 years, but I had to go back every 6 months, and I had to have CAT scans, PET scans, X-rays, and
all kinds of follow-up.
yeah, had to go back once a month for blood work to make sure that everything was okay, and had fantastic doctor. So
And so everything's been going fine.
everything's been
Well,
going.
the doctor's last words were, I just fired myself. You don't need me anymore.
He did such a good job. You don't need to come back
Yeah.
anymore. Well,